What do you know? You can do great Rani stories in this day and age. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS, and I've been looking forward to this one. Doctor Who, The War Doctor Rises, Fear of the Light. This is part of the War Doctor Rises range from Big Finish, where the late great John Hurt's War Doctor is voiced here by Jonathan Carley, and this is sort of like the middle chapter of the War Doctor in the Time War. We had The War Doctor Begins, which had a bunch of box sets, and now we're in The War Doctor Rises. This is the fifth box set in the War Doctor Rises range, and this reunites the Doctor with the Rani played by Siobhan Redmond. It's been over a decade since Siobhan Redmond played the Rani for Doctor Who Big Finish, where she acted alongside Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor. I have not listened to Planet of the Rani or the Rani Elite, so this is basically my introduction to her incarnation of the Rani. But honestly, I didn't really feel like that got in my way while listening to this. Cards on the table here, I actually saw Jonathan Carley a few months ago at a play that he was performing in Manchester called Hair of the Dog, and I spoke to him afterwards, and I was like, they've recently just announced that you're doing a War Doctor box set with the Rani, and he was like, oh, it's good, man, it's good. And you know what? Jonathan Carley was right. Fear of the Light is written by Roshana Patel, and this is a 3-part, 3-hour Time War epic. You've got episode 1, The Twilight Enclave, episode 2, The Frozen Wastes, and episode 3, The Burning Lands. And I'm not going to take this one episode at a time. I'm going to just broadly talk about the whole story in its totality, because like the other War Doctor Rises story, this is a 3-hour war epic. So the story opens with the War Doctor and a Time Lord commander called Valen, played by Thomas Arnold, getting attacked by Daleks, and the War Doctor and Valen are unable to stop the attack. They're unable to save all of these innocent lives, and they escape in an escape pod, and they are rescued by the Rani, but the Daleks are in pursuit. The Rani takes the Doctor and an injured, regenerating Valen to a planet called Onyx, which is a world where essentially one half faces the sun and is basically in perpetual desert and perpetual heat, and the other half is perpetually in a frozen, dark state. And the Rani has based herself in this metaphorical equator where the light and the darkness meet, called the Twilight Enclave. Hence the 3 episode titles, which reflect the setting of that particular episode as we move across the planet. And the Rani basing herself in the Twilight Enclave is representative of her allegiances in the Time War. The Time Strategist looks her up and determines that she is a neutral party. She's not siding with the Time Lord, she's not siding with the Daleks, she's a neutral third party in the Time War, and with the Rani, that terrifies the Daleks, so they want to go investigate what could she do, because this is an unknown element. But while the Rani is neutral, she has not been idle. She's been using all of this time in the Time War in the Twilight Enclave to hack into the Dalek pathweb. She's created her own matrix for the Time War, and this matrix has determined that the fall of Gallifrey and a Dalek victory is a fixed point in time, and the reason that she's brought the Doctor to the Twilight Enclave is to make him an offer. Essentially, help me with my experiments in order to end the Time War and put a stop to it before it can go any further and more people can die, or I'll just throw you into the burning wastelands. It's not much of an ultimatum, but it's one that she makes for the Doctor. Somebody who she considered a friend back in the days at the Gallifreyan Academy, and he even has a nickname called Theta Sigma, or Theets, as the Rani calls him. And also occupying the role of helpers and servants for the Rani's establishment, you have the Tetraps here, which have been genetically engineered by the Rani, and the main one is called Malvor, played by Barnaby Edwards. But the War Doctor needs to consider the unthinkable. Can he set his and the Rani's differences aside and work together on a project that could shape and change the future of the entire universe?
It's called delegation, and is the entire point of having servants.
Slaves?
Isn't that why you used to keep a human? Something manageable, bright enough to be useful, but not smart enough to be dangerous, to deal with all the menial tasks, so you were free to focus on more important matters.
No. I kept a friend by my side to keep myself grounded.
But not anymore. Now you're a one-man army, and you don't want anyone slowing you down or holding you back.
There's no one who could keep up. Or understand.
Are you sure about that? We were friends once.
No, we weren't.
Some would say more. And perhaps what you need right now is a friend, or at least a colleague. Someone who can keep up with you, push you on, and guide you. Just like the old days.
The War Doctor Rises, A Fear of the Light is a phenomenal box set. It's absolutely superb. I'm just going to put my cards on the table right away. I think Roshana Patel has written peak Doctor Who here. I think this is an outstanding 3-part story. And it's kind of incredible considering the relatively small number of characters in this story. Because when you think of Time War stories, you think of these epic battles, these epic stories, this army of cast members. But really, you have the Doctor, the Rani, the Tetraps, the Daleks, and Valen. You have 5 characters here, and 2 of them are species. We're playing multiple characters here, but so effectively it's a 3-hander between the Doctor, the Rani, and Valen. There's a lot of dense scenes where it's just 10 to 15 minutes of just talking, and obviously it's an audio drama. You're not going to get much quote action in an audio drama, but there's clearly a lot of faith in the listener to just engage with what the characters are saying, and to engage with not just the subtext of the dialogue, but the subtext of the settings, of the actual themes going on here, where you do have this world, Onyx, which is perpetually torn between light and darkness, and you have this middle ground here in the Twilight Enclave. And I think that having the planet here be a representation of the Doctor himself is a really fascinating bit of subtext, where you have this world caught between perpetual light and life and perpetual frozen death, with the balance of the Doctor's soul caught in the Twilight Enclave. And Valen as a character is similarly caught between these 2 different personalities as they're regenerating, and they want to set aside the warrior, the commander, and they want to potentially become a poet in this new regeneration which refuses to stabilize, and they struggle to find this new identity that they want in the heart of battle. And maybe the light that the War Doctor fears, the fear of the light in the title, is not just the metaphorical light of the world and, you know, him having to move forward, but also it's the fear of somebody like the 11th Doctor who he meets in the Day of the Doctor, someone who was able to end the Time War without the burning of Gallifrey, because someone who's able to do that would make his own suffering in vain. It's what makes the line in the Day of the Doctor when the War Doctor says, "Go be the Doctor I could never be, make it worthwhile." Like, he doesn't want his own personal suffering in this incarnation to be in vain. And the Rani, in a way, is offering him a way out, not just because she needs an assistant for these experiments, but because she wants to reunite with somebody who she related to and was friends with during their school days, and trying to bring him back into the light from the War Doctor that he is now. The Rani is an incredible antagonist, not just for the Doctor generally, but for the War Doctor specifically, because she has absolutely got him figured out and is able to undermine his moral authority. He's even able to undercut his self-loathing identity shift when he refuses to be called the Doctor, so she just calls him the Academy nickname of Theets. But then when it comes to part 3 of the story, it's revealed that the Rani is only so good at undermining the Doctor's identity because she understands him so well, culminating in a character breakdown of the Doctor on an almost subatomic level that almost left me in tears, as the Rani is forced to build the Doctor back up brick by brick, one step after another. The performances across the board, absolutely superb. Jonathan Carley, I actually think this may be his best performance as the War Doctor across all of the box sets. He absolutely rises to the occasion. A big part of that is because Roshana Patel has written so much bloody dialogue for him, but it's good in this context. When it comes to the ending of part 2 as well, I was thinking while listening to this, it would have been brilliant to hear John Hurt tackle this material, but it's still, nevertheless, a privilege to hear Jonathan Carley play this incarnation of the Doctor, an incarnation that I really do love, and is, thanks to Big Finish, is probably one of my favourite incarnations of the Doctor, and it's just wonderful to hear Jonathan Carley's performance. And Siobhan Redmond is terrific as well. These 2 actors have insanely good chemistry with each other, where you do have the pontificating and the theatrics of the War Doctor, and Siobhan Redmond, she just takes every opportunity to not only match that grandiose scale in terms of of the performance and almost like the Shakespearean heft, but is also able to sort of like get these little jibes and these little digs, and she's clearly having so much fun with this material. And that's because I think Rishana Patel, I don't know how she does it. Like, I don't know whether or not she like goes away and like studies these characters for hours and hours and days, or if she just has all of this subtextual information about these characters just off the top of her head, and she can just do that. But like, we saw this with like River Song and the Dissolution of Time, how she's able to like link this character to Anne Boleyn of all historical figures, and is able to get into the metatext of Missy as a character in Dark Gallifrey. I don't quite know how she does it. When I say like she just has this off the top of her head, it sounds like I'm sort of belittling her accomplishments, but I promise I don't mean to. She's just incredibly good at getting specific incarnations of the Doctor, or these very specifically characterized supporting characters in the Doctor Who universe, and just managing to dissect them so effectively, and also parlay those characterizations with the people who they're interacting with, the supporting cast, and also the settings of the story. I don't know how she does it, but it blows me away every time. And with the 3-hour runtime of Fear of the Light, similar to the Death and Life of River Song, the Dissolution of Time's 4-parter, like this 4-hour epic, she's able to really just allow us to wallow in these characters and really soak in the subtext and everything that like there is to be gleaned from these characters in this particular setting. Like, this isn't just a one-off Rani encounter. This feels like a definitive chapter in the Rani's story. It's basically to the Rani what Woden Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls was to Missy / the Master. It is that level of sort of like the definitive endpoint of this particular version of the character. The mission statement that these decades of TV history and centuries of fictional history between these characters is finally coming to a head on the biggest stage possible. The Time War. One of the best scenes in the story is in part 2, where the Doctor is shown his quarters by a tetrap, and the Doctor tries to look out of the window, but it's way too dark for him to view any of the scenery outside. All he sees reflected back in the glass is his weary reflection, but the tetrap that showed him to his room with its enhanced senses can see the mountains and hear the howling winds and the icy skies, which they think is beautiful. Real beauty and great things can still be found in the dark. And that's just like a 5-minute scene, like probably less, more like 3 minutes, in a 3-hour story that just perfectly distills what Fear of the Light is going for. But every scene is like that. It's outstanding.
The whole reason I rescued you is because I want to offer you an opportunity.
An opportunity?
To be the Doctor again.
The Doctor?
Not the Bohemian dilettante or the feckless do-gooder you pretended to be, but the real you, the original you. The scientist who left Gallifrey behind so he could continue his research, in the hope of using it to build a better universe.
There is no place for that anymore.
But there is, if you will just open your mind to other possibilities. The old you would often lecture me on the importance of keeping an open mind. Can you not do so now?
I'm listening.
Gallifrey falls. The Time War is lost. So, I want you to consider stepping away from the conflict.
I can't.
Re-embracing neutrality.
And I've not even talked about the Daleks. Holy shit, the Daleks in this story. Genuinely interesting stuff. Nicholas Briggs is clearly having fun portraying these different versions of Daleks, because that's ultimately, I've barely even talked about the plot. This is basically what the Rani's experiment ultimately is here, to try and re-engineer the Daleks, to make them more Khalid, to try and change the outcome of the Time War. And the Doctor is basically, whether he likes it or not, along for the ride for this experiment. And the way that Nicholas Briggs plays these Daleks that are like torn between their like genetically engineered hatred, like this Paleolithic instinct to kill and to hate that the Rani is trying to force out of them, and the back and forth of the Daleks as well when they encounter these abominations, and then there's the pure ones, and then what the pure ones, quote, the pure Daleks do when they encounter these genetically engineered Daleks is also just fascinating stuff. And these, like, there's one part in part 2 where the Doctor and the Rani and the Tetraps go on this rescue mission to try and salvage this Dalek like DNA that's frozen in the eye. Like, it's just great set piece after great set piece, and also a little bit scary. It's a little bit like an Alien when, you know, John Hurt and the rest of the crew go and try and investigate this like alien encampment. If I have a nitpick for Fear of the Light, it's actually a little bit of the sound design. I think they rely a little bit too heavily on those original 1980s sound effects. Like, a couple of times it's cool to be like, oh yeah, this is what the Rani's TARDIS sounds like. Oh yeah, this is what the Rani's weapons sound like. But sometimes they undercut really dramatic scenes where there's really effective dramatic moment, and then it's like, oh, fan service 80s sound effect. Oh, you kind of ruined the moment a bit there. But apart from that, that's kind of it when it comes to my complaints for Fear of the Light. It is just, from top to bottom, an incredible story, really thoughtful, a great exploration of the Doctor and the Rani, and like I said, for the Doctor on like a subatomic level, like Siobhan Redmond's performance during that scene, which is effectively a one-sided duologue with the War Doctor. Like, it's phenomenal stuff. It's really, really touching, really, really moving. Yeah, and even the bloody Tetraps get some wonderful moments to shine, of all things. The bloody Tetraps, of all things. I think Roshana Patel, like, not only has she smashed it out of the park, it's like, it's in a different universe altogether. This is an incredible, like, essential must-listen box set. I adored it from start to finish. There's so much going on here that I haven't even had, like, chance to dive into, like Valen's story over the course of the box set as well, and, you know, the callbacks to the evil of the Daleks with the Dalek experimentation. It's like, and even just some of the fun references when the Rani is like poking fun at the Doctor's previous companions, because stuff like that. Like, Roshana Patel has clearly got like an encyclopedic memory for all of this stuff, but her ability to take that encyclopedic knowledge of the Doctor Who universe and its characters and then like reappropriate them into really interesting settings and stories, it's unmatched. And I think it's a reason why Roshana Patel is one of Big Finish's best writers at the moment. I think she's like indisputably like top 3, at least, in terms of like the rotating list of Big Finish writers. She's outstanding. I adore her work, and Fear of the Light is like just another high point in already her incredible portfolio of the past couple of years, for lack of a better term. And what's amazing about the War Doctor Rises range is that it's still like maybe only the 3rd best of like, it sounds like I'm dabbing it with faint praise. Like, we have a joint 3 for the best War Doctor Rises story: Unknown Soldiers, Fallen Heroes, and Fear of the Light. Like, these are all like 11 out of 10 box sets, and this range is just insane. The consistently insanely high quality for the War Doctor range. I don't know why Big Finish just goes for the nuclear option every single time for these box sets, but I'm absolutely here for it. The next one, the 6th box set in the War Doctor Rises range, comes out this December. We don't know anything about it in terms of a writer or a title or a supporting cast or anything, but yeah, keep them coming. I love this range. It's insanely good. And I also think with this ending as well for Fear of the Light, this might not be the last that we hear of the Rani. I think that, I made a video a few months back talking about how the Doctor Who universe is going to be changing, particularly for Big Finish, as they sort of soft reboot some characters. The more time passes, the more that appears to be the case, because I think we're going to be getting a bit more Rani in the near future, possibly in relation to the Gallifrey War Room. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to get into spoilers for what happens to the Rani in this story. But yeah, that's my review of the War Doctor Rises, Fear of the Light. 11 out of 10, insanely good stuff. I adored it from start to finish, and yeah, it was wonderful to listen to. Thank you so much for watching my review of the War Doctor Rises, Fear of the Light. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave any comment down below if you want. Like, subscribe, hype, all that good stuff. And folks, I'll see you all next time.